I feel like this game kind of speaks for itself, but I'm going to try to make a commentary over it anyway. This main menu button is similar to the ones in the previous games, but I decided to make it less stupid this time. And also, I really like this background. I don't know, it's just really pretty to me. It's probably the fanciest looking background for the main menu in the whole series. And then I remember someone saying on Newgrounds, like someone left a 5-star review for the game saying that they hadn't played it yet, but they really liked how the loading screen looked, so that's why they gave it that score. And I was just, what? Right here is the link to the forum that I used to go to. I don't know if it still exists anymore, but that's what it was. And I love this instruction example. You get an apple, and then you give it to a kid dressed as an apple. Like, this kid is not a canonical character, but I just love that. It's so stupid. So, I think that the first thing that I made with this game was probably the part where Phil wakes up. I didn't make this part first. This probably came later after I actually drew all the rooms where these characters were. And I think I did that because there had to be some kind of explanation for why Phil died in the 4th game and then comes back in a 5th one. And the only reason that I could think of was he woke up from a dream and it was all a dream. And I know that's cliche, but I wasn't really thinking about that at the time because I didn't care that it was cliche. This was just supposed to be one of several not-so-great games that I was going to use, or that I was going to make people sick of the series. But I ended up kind of working with it after I didn't have time to make more, and it just turned into a finale. I really like this music by Waterflame. And, this always bothers me. There's a border around the game, but it's cut off on this side. And it just bothers me every time I see this. Like, it's here. I probably... like, it's a line, and I think I must have accidentally deleted it somewhere near the end of development, and just never fixed it. But it'll just remain there forever, I guess. Alien Coin, and kind of like the Ruler Gum puzzle was inspired by Johnny Rocket Fingers 2, that puzzle from Riddle School 3. I believe that puzzle of unscrewing the screws with the coin was also inspired by Johnny Rocket Fingers 3, or just directly stolen from it. Johnny Rocket Fingers 2. Did I say 3? There's not a third one of those. Alright, so I don't know for sure how to do this puzzle, but I have my walkthrough that I wrote next to this. Okay, cool. There you go, that's how you solve the puzzle from the start. I think that puzzle... this was a puzzle that I wanted to do for a game for a while, even though it's not like an original idea and other people have made that same kind of puzzle, but... I wanted to put that in a Riddle School game, or at least some kind of point-and-click escape game, and I realized that it was probably too easy to just make all the tiles go from red to blue, so I made it to where you had to make several patterns like that. And so they spell out numbers. Can you say spell out numbers? Or do you have to say letters whenever you're spelling out? I don't know. We're in space. Because why not? There's Oswald the Lucky Rabbit, except it's not the Lucky Rabbit. Now, I wanted the puzzles in this game to be puzzles that, or at least for the majority of the game, puzzles that you have to know what you're doing to complete. And so in this case, there's a door at the end of this fish's mouth whenever you look in the mirror. But in addition to that, your hint that there's a way to get through this slug thing to get this unreachable stake is that in the map, there's a gap between these two rooms. And that's supposed to hint that there's a way between those two rooms. So we'll get to that pretty soon. But first I want to activate this. I wanted it to be a use for the screws. It just seemed like a little bit of a waste to have screws and then just not use them for anything. Also, this screen, the code on the screen is ActionScript, specifically ActionScript 2.0, which is the coding language that Flash uses, or Flash 8. Later versions use ActionScript 3.0, which I have no idea how to use. And I remember this room, I think it originally, I think originally Smiley was on this side of the room, but I had to change that because I didn't want anyone to accidentally find this hidden door. So I set everything on this side so that this would be really out of the way, and you would be much less likely to find it on accident. Alright, so now because I know the puzzle, put the stake here, and the stake has to be in the dirt because the life transferred from the dirt flower has to be in dirt, or else it won't stay alive. And the idea to make the stake just like a stake with plant legs was Psychosis91's, who has made a lot of sprite animations on Newgrounds. Like, I asked him how I should make this stake thing work, and that's what he suggested. Because I didn't want to make it turn into a cow or something. It just would have been silly to me, maybe not silly to others. Let's turn invisible first. And then make sure Oswald stays in his cage. Now this room is really trippy. I'm not really sure why it is, but I think it's cool. It just makes it more interesting, I guess. And this is where I wanted to... Like, this was kind of the point when I started to realize that this game was probably going to end up being the only one that I made before April 1st. So I decided to try and find ways to make it like a culmination of all the games before it. So let's see, who do I want to start with? Let's start with 7272. I can't remember if that's... This is probably Fred, actually, which might be a bad example to start with. I was going to try to go through them in order. And then 655321 is probably Zach. Yeah, this is Fred's dream. Oh well. It's okay to go through them out of order. That's one of the things that I had in mind for this game, was to make it to where you can play things out of order if you want. Because what's the fun in a totally linear game? Well, there is fun in totally linear games, but that's not what I wanted for this one. I remember this room. It was kind of weird trying to replicate styles that I'd kind of abandoned. Hey Fred, what's up? Mr. McMaster's room. McMaster was the name of one of the people on the forum that I used to go to, or the last name of one of those people, and he's probably in the credits. I believe all the dialogue, whenever you click on these different things, was the original dialogue, or at least most of it was the original dialogue for Riddle University whenever I had this room in mind. And this note is the same note that you see in Riddle School 4's special features. I don't know if I put it here first or if in those features first, but I still like that it's in both places. Alright, Fred. Would you like to wear my sweatshirt? And then that's all you need to change the thermostat. The sound of the thermostat changing, or turning, was... I have a friend named Shark, who goes by Croz now, which is Shark backwards, and he made that noise, I think, with his mouth, and then he just sped it up or something. But it works perfectly, and I wish that I had the amazing talent that he did with that. I really like the idea of Fred dying just by being in Phil's place. Even though I don't really want to make games with these characters anymore, because I feel like they're overly simple, there are some things that can only be done with really simple character designs like this, and having a fake-out setup like that is one of them. Alright, so now I think I'll go to... No, 6553. That's... Yeah, this should be Zach's stream. Because I know that 1831 is Smiley's stream, because the 83 in the middle is supposed to kind of look like a smiley face. There are a number of different Easter eggs if you type in different 4-digit codes into that dial pad too, like 1492. Yeah, once again, replicating the styles of the old games was kind of weird, especially since they don't have the same... Well, like, because this was back when I still had the files for these games, which I don't anymore. They might be somewhere, but... Yeah, I was able to just copy and paste the Riddle School 2 room into this, but I had to add some to it so that it would be, that it would fit the screen size. This starts the same way as the other game. Deja vu. And this is where I point out that English is supposed to be capitalized. I added dialogue for looking at the staff on the top of the room because it kind of bothered me that there wasn't a description for it in Riddle School 2. There's lots of stuff that you can click on still. And then Phil's design here was actually the design that I had for whenever I was making a game called Riddle Manor, which wasn't a manor, it was just Phil's house. And it's very similar to the Riddle School 2 design, but it looks nicer, so that's why I used it. And now we kill Zack. I'm pretty sure that's not the way ice works, because ice is really hard, and it might crack in half. I don't think it would shatter into pieces like that, though. But, whatever. It's a dream. And also a cartoon. And also a video game. So logic has no place in things like this. I'm pretty sure this sound effect of the was just made with my mouth. Once I discovered that you can make noises with your mouth. Whatever. Yeah. I like games that are kind of... Their final tests are the culmination of previous challenges. Like Wind Waker has the 4 different sections in the final dungeon where they look like past dungeons in the game. Alright, I made this cutscene a little bit faster because Riddle School 3 always bothered me because the cutscenes took forever. And so I tried to fix that with future games, like, they all still have cutscenes, but they just move a little faster than the ones that Riddle School 3 had. And that was mostly because whenever I replayed Riddle School 3 for, like, the special ending with the monkey doll, it was bothersome to me that the gameplay kept stopping for those cutscenes. I recall being really proud of myself for this idea for a puzzle. Like, you kill Smiley by stabbing her on the top of this globe, but then I didn't want to animate her being stabbed, so I did this instead. Nice fake out. I was going to say, one thing that I forgot to mention in the Riddle School 3 commentary is that the original plan for the monkey doll showing up was for him to show up after you beat the game 3 times in a row, and then the fact that it was 2 times in a row was just a glitch, but 2 times is way better, because who would want to play it 3 times in a row? If you're wondering how Zack and Smiley know how to drive escape pods, I just kind of assume they're autopiloted. Like, there's never an explanation for how the escape pod works at the beginning of Star Wars Episode 4. And Fred goes... This is a really weird, funky design for a ship. And we escape. Or do we? I knew that there had to be some kind of final challenge in this game, so threw one in. This music, I remember that I was going to use for a different game entirely. Like, there was this fish game that I was going to make that was going to use Newgrounds Audio Portal music, and it was going to have this music. But then I decided to use it for this instead. And the weird thing is that the music is called Peace and Calm, but it's, like Phil just said, unnerving, to me at least, more than anything. And here's Viz. Viz and Diz were both designs by my friend. So, if you think he looks too much like a certain character in a certain Flash game about, like, popping bubbles, that's not my fault. Or if you think that he looks too much like Cool Spot, that's also not my fault. And if you think that Diz looks too much like a stereotypical alien, that's not my fault, but it's not that much more unique than the other designs that I came up with, so it works. So, Cowardly Traitor, what exactly is going on here? I like that line. Then it turns out that Diz actually is a traitor, to you and to Viz. But that's spoilers for Riddle Transfer 2. Began with Vision. Again, this is all just stuff that I made up on the spot. I didn't really have an explanation for why Phil was suddenly small. So I figured that the first game was not a dream, but all the ones after it were. And the reason that you don't notice there being a difference between the first and second games is because time froze, and then you were abducted, and then you were... While you were unconscious, these dreams were fed to you. And yeah, I just used the whole foreign exchange student bit as an explanation for him being in these dreams. It worked out. None of this was planned from the start. Don't ask me how the aliens concocted an extremely detailed dream spanning years that pretty accurately predicts the future of the characters. I just owe it to fancy research. I don't remember when the idea for Zack's freezing genes to be used to power a death laser for the planet came into play. I also don't remember if I made the final room first or this cutscene first, because I think I would have had to make the room first. Whatever. Somehow I really doubt that. Phil is mostly unfazed by this. Now, a lot of this game was inspired by the Sam & Max series of games. And not the Sam & Max Hit the Road game, but the Telltale games seasons, like seasons 1 through 3. Like, those were the ones that I was really inspired by. And in those, there are usually these little boss fights. Not exactly boss fights, but boss puzzles where you use the enemy's own, like, devices against them. And I really liked that, so I wanted to do something like that with my own game. And also just the whole futuristic nature of this game is also sort of inspired by Sam & Max's plot twists and things. Cool. And that is how you get through all that. Now these puzzles work, or these duck-looking statue things. And as is usual with me, I like puzzles where you can just look at something from a different perspective and that's the answer. So this upside down, because you're upside down, is the answer. I believe this is it? Yeah. The mugshot startles people. Now this puzzle, it's not much of a puzzle. Like, you don't have to do anything to this. You can just be like, boop. No, maybe you have to be a little bit more precise than that. But you really don't have to be precise with this at all. You don't have to put these in any order. It was just something that I threw in as kind of a fun bonus. To have a little puzzle. Wait a minute. I forgot this part. Someone pointed out that this puzzle doesn't make any sense because Phil is holding what seems to be a metal bar, and the metal bar would be a conductor, so his hand would still be extremely hot. Like this whole sink would be, it would feel like it was on fire, and so his hand should not be able to touch it. But my logic for that is, or my explanation for that logic is, maybe the sink handle that I used for this little get-up here is made out of an alien material and not actually just a conducting metal. But I don't know. I just wasn't thinking. And that closes. Don't ask me why there's lava in the ship. I think Viz just likes lava in spaceships or something. I don't know. But yeah, this is you using the villain's own devices against them, and I was really happy with this whole idea of, like, this climactic finish. Hello, Viz. Weird shadow, I'm not really sure how that works. Soon this planet will be covered in a coat of ice. Yes, because evildoers deserve a taste of their own evil. Yeah, I wanted to kind of sugarcoat... Would that be the right term? Well, no, lampshade would be the right term. I wanted to lampshade the whole idea of him being attacked by his own weapon. And then I wanted to be sure that Viz died, so he is straight up dead. In billions of pieces scattered all throughout space at this point. Amazing, you saved Earth and disposed of our wretched leaders simultaneously. Why am I reading this dialogue? I remember someone pointing out also that the dialogue that Diz has during this scene, is kind of weird sounding. Like, I managed to escape with this remote that I found that used to be Viz's, when he could have said, I managed to escape with this remote I found that used to belong to Viz. Like, that would feel more natural. And also, I think he says something like, whenever he says, the ship we're in, he could have just said, this ship. And I agree with those criticisms, but it's too late to change it. Once again, I will use the alien excuse. Yeah, here's the ship we're in. I'm just going to use the alien excuse of he doesn't know proper human English. And it's a surprise that they speak English anyways, considering they're space aliens. That's a common trope, though. Friends really can come from anywhere. Even space! It's the stupidest line, but it's appropriately cheesy for this cheesy ending. And this is a good life lesson. I guess I should say I learned a lot from this experience. Ugh, can't read. But really, only one lesson I learned today really stands out to me. Why does he say really twice in that sentence? I don't know. I didn't know what a space whale Aesop was before reading about the Riddle School 5 on TV tropes, but apparently Stay in School is a space whale Aesop. I think that's a great name. Although the moral is kind of dumb, in a way, because, you know, Phil learns not to escape school, but what is his reason for not escaping school? He might accidentally destroy the planet? Like, he doesn't learn to stay in school because he needs to learn, like, and get an education, no. It's just weird. Like, it's even made more pointless by the fact that Phil evidently has a better education than the others, like he gets good grades and stuff. But because I made this series up as I went along, including the 2 games after this, like, it doesn't make total sense. If you think about the dream stuff too hard, it doesn't make sense either. Like, trying to think as an example. Well, I'm not thinking of it right now, but there are definitely ways in which the dream feeding of the kids doesn't make any sense. 655321, you might notice a pattern here. 6553 is the code that was used for Zack, to enter Zack's dream. And it's also 655321 is the prison number for whoever the main character is in A Clockwork Orange. This is Shark, whose name is in huge letters in these credits because, I don't know, he's cool. That's the only reason I have. There's Yoshi Egg. Orange is the name of this song, and it is probably my favorite music in the series. It's just so utterly happy. And so I was happy to kind of reprise it a little bit in the Riddle Transfer 2 credits. I messed up this timer thing, and I didn't know how to fix it, and then I just didn't fix it. I think I tried to fix it, and it was worse looking than this, but it still looks pretty bad. Oh well. There's, oh, and here's the rejected Riddle School games, or the rejected Riddle games. I'm not going to make any of these. I kind of turned this into Riddle School 5 and Riddle Transfer 2, this Riddle Retold idea. And then Riddle University, yeah, not going to make that either. I did make this, and it's in Crap Game Compilation. This is going to be the weirdest thing. Ugh. Yeah, I remember that my original thought for Riddle Transfer 3, whenever Riddle Transfer was going to be a series, was to harken back to these old ideas that I abandoned, but I abandoned them all for a reason, and so it was just a really bad idea to try to bring them back. But anyways, that's a story for another day. See you guys when we play Riddle Transfer.